Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and it is time to look into the question of, are we alone in the universe? Have we been visited by aliens? Do we have UFO technology that is derived from some other type of civilization beyond the stars? Well, I'm here to tell you I have no idea. And I've studied this stuff forever. One of my hesitations for doing this video is I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I brought up just a bunch of random stuff on why I'm doing this video, why I believe what I believe, the theories that are out there, the theories I possibly give credence to, a lot of stuff. And you know what? I forgot that I didn't even bring in one of my favorite documentaries on the subject, and that is called Mirage Men. So I want to start with why I even decided to tackle this subject, because normally I don't. It's a subject I kind of stay away from because I know there is a massive amount of disinformation out there. And I just want to point out that I have probably watched just about every relevant documentary of the last 40 years plus on this subject. And that's the truth of the matter. I mean, I've seen just about everything put out there. I've even watched UFOs from Hell, which I think was like a 6 or 7 hour documentary series trying to lay out how aliens, in fact, did exist and were cohorting with, the military-industrial complex, basically these secret groups in underground bases to make hybrid beings or cockatrice eggs. So, thank you, Jesse. I think the photo is kind of hilarious as well. I try to keep a good humor about things. So, again, I don't want to make myself out to be a huge expert. I don't read everything that comes out, but I have read the MJ-12 documents. Obviously, I've seen all the different now alien autopsy. There's the original alien autopsy video. There's other videos out there that are supposedly of aliens being recovered, photographs, you name it. Old school footage of UFOs. We're going to be going over that. But what sparked it? I'll tell you what sparked it. The Bob Lazar documentary. Now, I watched this probably, I don't know, I think it came out in May. So I watched it pretty quickly in May when it did get released. But Lazar recently went on Joe Rogan with filmmaker Jeremy Corbell. Now, there were things that I really liked about the documentary, and there were things that I was like, I'm not so sure. Now, number one, I thought it was really interesting how they were able to portray Bob, and they were pretty honest about what his life was like before this and then after this. For instance, a lot of people don't understand that LAZAR was caught up in some kind of a brothel ring where I'm not sure if he was actually pimping these women or it wasn't really clear. It did seem like he may have been. And that's where I think it was the Department of the Navy, which isn't supposed to exist, a non-department of, maybe it was the Department of Naval Intelligence, where it wasn't supposed to exist because it's the Office of Naval Intelligence. But they get one of his tax forms, and it's in court, and it gets recorded. That combined with the fact that even though he seems to obviously have the credentials to be there, and the evidence is there that he worked at Los Alamos, his educational record either was scrubbed or he was dishonest about it. Let's be honest, that's something that's not asked about. Stanton Friedman, who recently passed away and worked in the ufologist field forever, always questioned LAZAR on that and said LAZAR was full of crap. Now, I've watched, again, just about everything. So I've watched the old VHS tapes. It's true, LAZAR went to the desert, filmed some of these craft around Area 51. Now, he didn't work in Area 51 himself. It was a subdivision of that. And these are his claims, by the way. But, in the older videos, he does talk about possibly seeing an alien body. But he would never really commits to it, which is interesting. And who knows if his imagination got away with him, or maybe LAZAR is, disinfo. I'm not sure. I do believe that whatever he was working on seemed to be real. Now, the question is that technology really, I guess, non-human? And he talks about how it would be impossible to be human, how the craft was set for, 3-foot beings, how there was no bathroom in these places, how basically it wasn't translucent. One would become translucent like a screen, but he wasn't sure whether it was metal or ceramic. Just so many questions about this, the power source, gravitational fields. Now, here's the thing. We know that our government and the military-industrial complex lie, and that they have technology we don't know about, and they like to obfuscate that technology. And it's 2019, and we're talking about rockets going into space still. We have other propulsion systems. So that's the first place I kind of want to start here. I want to point out that there is no doubt that other propulsion systems are out there. This right here is a craft using an inertial mass reduction device to produce gravitational fields. Okay? And the same person who's putting this patent out is making a room temperature superconductor. These are Navy files, right? Now, if you look at these patents and kind of understand what's happening here, you can see under the level there, but there it is right there. Like LAZAR claimed, the propulsion system was basically bending the time and space around it and creating this gravitational field and then pushing through this field that it had built, which I thought was extremely interesting. Now, he talks about being briefed, going through all of these different documents, okay? And one of them is talking about how these beings supposedly came from the Zeta Reticula system. And that's kind of been lore now for quite some time, okay? So here's something I want to show. This is how hoaxes can get away from us. With this amount of information, I remember this going around in like 2008 or 9 or even 10. I think this is a repost in 2011. But this is supposedly footage of the aliens coming in, and there they are, the Greys, and this is our government footage of them. And honestly, at this point, it's going to be impossible to really tell what is CGI, what's doctored. I mean, I thought at the time this was pretty good CGI. It was impressive, And so many people want to believe that, immediately, oh, this must be real. This is obviously government footage. Look at the grain. But these things can be easily reproduced, And I think that there was some footage of a craft. We're going to X that right out. But then you do have the historical record of these things. Now, I think this is what? This says it's from 1870. You even have early videos. I'm going to show you some of the earliest videos out there. But, they have a huge archive of UFO pictures here. Now, who knows whether some of these are hoaxes, these are the early 20s, or these are artifacts from photographs, but I do not believe that every single one of these is hoaxed. These are the LA lights, some very well documented events. But the question is, what are they really? We really don't know that. And for those that don't remember a time called the 80s, that's when I first got interested in this material. And in particular through the Time Life series, they go read the book, The UFO Phenomenon and Alien Encounters. Those were the ones that I was focused on. And they had crazy photographs in them. I'm going to scroll down. It's going to show you some of these photographs. So I'm actually going to play one of the videos here. But I specifically remember this one and the Bigfoot search one. I was like, wow, that's a pretty interesting photograph. And at the time, Photoshop didn't exist. There were other types of hoaxes. This was from the alien one. But again, it was, Nazca lines, ancient civilizations, but that was mixed in with a lot of psychic and intuition. And, for instance, let's go to this commercial right here.
Still awake?
Huh?
Must be a good book.
It's fascinating. Really makes you wonder.
Ben Randall, referring to Time Life's provocative series, Mysteries of the Unknown.
Mystic places. I'm not into all that psychic phenomena stuff.
I wasn't either. No,
I'm not so sure.
Why not?
Read the book. Read how a space alien restored the engine and lights to Joyce Bowles' car on a lonely English road.
For real?
Read the book.
So again, some of the stuff they were putting, you saw the nice illustration, and it was a man-like being. I'll say this, even though they did kind of promote the gray alien, it was much more broad in the 80s. We talk about human-like aliens and other type creatures. I know that David Icke later would popularize the lizard beings, but you get the 80s cheese, and you'd have to call and get these things. And that's what brought me into the subject matter. And I think there's a lot of meat to that subject. But like I said, I think there's a lot of disinformation as well. And Bob Lazar does have all the hallmarks of somebody who knows what he's talking about. But is he put there to put some flair on it? Look at Richard Doty and Mirage Men. Mirage Men is a must-watch documentary because we're going to get into all the figures, Stephen Greer, the To the Stars Academy. People I do think did really good research, like Jim Mars, rest in peace, Jim, and what we can take away from that. But, with Richard Doty, he went around telling people total disinformation for the military, drove a man insane, made him go broke, and then still to this day claims he saw an alien body and is telling the truth. And people like Stephen Greer put him in unacknowledged and at the forefront of this movement. It's very bizarre. Sounds like a lot of disinfo to me. So Trump recently weighed in on the UFO issues, okay? He basically said, I'm not buying it. He's not convinced UFOs are real, but the military will remain alert for signs of extraterrestrials. Just really playing up the every single president kind of angle. But recently, we've had senators getting declassified briefings. We've got these military videos. The gimbal video is out there. That's pretty famous right now. And this is something that's being featured on the To the Stars Academy. And all of a sudden, there's this resurgence in interest in UFOs, right? So when you look at that and you look at the To the Stars Academy and who's involved, it's all these ex-military officials. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't watched all of them on television, but certainly some of them and their speeches. This guy in particular, I don't trust him. I don't trust them. They're all telling us kind of the same story, that the aliens are here. We have their technology. We've successfully reverse engineered it, and we need to have disclosure. I think it's dangerous because I don't know that any of these are facts. I don't know that these people have firsthand knowledge of that. Compartmentalization comes with a lot of disinformation, even on a military level, and a need to know. And that's why I'm going to bring up this document, because it's going around. It's something that Corbell actually mentioned on the Rogan podcast. Now, I read this document here, and it's between this Wilson character, Thomas Wilson, and this other gentleman. Now, Greer is mentioned in it. Corso, who is an ex-military guy with claims of Roswell. But in it, if it is real, and it's basically about special access projects. And yes, I know there are laws out there that have recently been passed that prevent the Pentagon from even auditing these types of programs. But what was going on here, it was, I believe, early 2002, and fog of war, all that stuff. And if this document's real, by the way, it comes from Grant Cameron, and he uploaded it in April of this year. It's 15 pages. It's pretty readable, even though, there's some terms in there you might not get. For instance, bigot list is used, and you're like, what's the bigot list? And that seems to be the people that are privy to have access to the information of what they were calling, I believe it was ARVs, which were alien reverse engineered vehicles, or trying to be. It was an ARV program. They said it was a reverse engineering program in there. However, what gets promoted in here a lot that I want to question is they talk about an MJ-12 or MJ-12-like group. Now, if you believe that Majestic 12 is real, and who knows, then you would have to believe that in 47, Truman put together this elite oversight squad like something out of the X-Files. Hey, I loved the X-Files as a kid, and I did gravitate towards the alien stuff much more than I gravitated towards, the horror episodes. And I even liked in those episodes where they find the train of what you thought was going to be alien bodies, but instead it was all these deformed bodies that the government had run experiments on, and they twisted it around, and you find out maybe it was an alien virus, yada, yada, yada. But it was an interesting and compelling show. It was entertaining, but that's it. It's entertainment. You'd really have to convince me that Majestic 12 is real and that those documents are real. We'd need some backup. I mean, that would be game changing. We're talking about real quote unquote EBEs, and we'll get into EBEs and the like in a moment. But first, I want to go through just a little bit of history. So, when you look at a lot of these older videos, for instance, I think this is 55. This is one of the
Montana film projected exactly as it was photographed. The objects are moving against a 25 to 28 mile an hour wind. This is the film in double frame or slow motion. A slight bounce in the movement of the objects as well as the tower is perceptible.
Now, again, that's pretty consistent what we get with a lot of these videos that are very real. Now, I'm going to pose a question here, and we're going to watch this video in a moment. What if a lot of these are not just craft, like that looks like maybe those could have been experimental craft, correct? I think that's a good possibility. But what if a lot of these are actually drones from back in the day? That's a big, big possibility, and lights in the sky, and there's a psychological operation. For instance, right now at Burning Man, these are commercialized drones I'm going to show you. It looks like a light show, but no, these are actually drones that are moving and lighting up and, forming. We've seen, for instance, some of these UFOs, they disappear and then they reappear and they come together and they become a large spark of light. Well, the patterns and the things that we're able to do now in public for recreation, forget about military, is absolutely incredible. I'm going to skip through a lot of this because it's just here to give you an idea. But that's what these are. These are automated drones, commercial drones that we have now. So I think that there's the chance that a lot of that served a disinformation purpose. But, when we talk about, for instance, the DC lights, I doubt that this was, was this a psyop on people? Possibly, but pretty doubtful. Is this a military test? Doubtful, but very, very possibly as well. There is archival footage out there of some spooky stuff. But when you look at people who are behind it, like Dr. Stephen Greer, pushing Unacknowledged, pushing Doty, and to me, you can go read his papers if you want, okay? He's a boaster. He talks about how, the Rockefeller family wanted disclosure. I believe it was, was it Lawrence? I'm not quite sure. I don't want to misquote which Rockefeller he worked with to try to get disclosure. He says that he briefed President Clinton. He's given these briefings. In 2000, he brought everybody together for the big disclosure hearing on the Hill. I'm going to say something right now. Maybe people aren't going to like it, but this is going to be 100% Jason Burmis observational opinion. Okay? Now, remember, this arena is filled with disinformants, with controlled opposition, with imagination land, with the promotion of theories that are just so wild that I think that we need to take note. Greer, to me, and you watch his documentary Sirius, I believe it was Sirius, it only confirmed what I thought. And I think that at the very least, Stephen Greer is absolutely 100% compromised. Why? I believe him to be a closeted homosexual. Now, again, I'm not here to judge anybody's sexual preference, but Greer has a family, and I think it's pretty apparent that, this is a secret lifestyle that he doesn't want out there. Therefore, he could be compromised. All I'm going to say is watch that Sirius movie and take a look at his male bodyguard and their interactions and how the bodyguard talks about him. Now, there's 100 other things that I could go over, but I'm not going to sit here and, play Nostradamus on something like that. I am going to tell you that when people have large secrets they don't want out in the public arena, that they are extremely compromised. So, take that for what you will. I certainly hope that I don't end up on the bigot list for pointing out something that I think is, not only very possible, it's right in your face, okay? And another thing that's always really bothered me, especially now about these latest, pushes for this. Look at Ancient Aliens. This is I think a 2012 episode. It's laughable. Ancient Aliens and Bigfoot. Folks, I was excited when they first had that first Ancient Aliens. It wasn't even a show. It was just like a little mini documentary they had on the History Channel that became so successful that now it's pushed more than, actual history. And they'll push whatever nonsense they want. Ancient Aliens and Bigfoot, guys. There you go. You're seeing it. But then you do have instances like this that are creepy. But again, is this alien or is this some kind of psychological operation? I'm going to show you some of the Dome of the Rock videos. There's 4 of them. I'm going to turn the sound off here because there's a lot of small talk. You can go check it out. But essentially, this UFO descends on the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, a very religious area, a very prophetic area, importance everywhere. And there you can see it. Now, anything like this could be faked pretty easily. But when you have 4 different sources that come together, I think I'm going to show you the second source as well. Not so much this one. But eventually this thing just shoots up into the sky. It's pretty crazy. There it goes. Boom. Gone. And then, right here you can see the object. It's in the air. You'll actually see it descend down on the Dome of the Rock. Right? Isn't that coming up? Yeah, there it goes right there. And you're gonna see the same thing. So what's going on here? Things like the Phoenix Lights. These type of things could very well be the type of drones I just showed you. Now, think about this. Think about holographic technology. Okay? I think that's also extremely important. Now, I know a lot of you are going to want to talk about Project Bluebeam, right? Well, I'll tell you this. Project Bluebeam is extremely thin. See, there's a little flash, and then it goes, boom, shoots up again. So those type of coordinated hoaxes are going to be a lot more difficult. When we talk Bluebeam, we talk about really this gentleman, Serge Monast, who was an independent journalist and didn't really provide any kind of documentation. Now, Bluebeams essentially said it could fake an alien invasion. It could fake the sound of God or God coming from the skies. And that technology certainly has come into fruition. And, I lean towards it probably being a real program, but we stick to facts here. So, even though it's in Behold the Pale Horse, and this journalist put it out there, I'd like to see the source documents on it. But would faking an alien invasion with real-time deep fakes out there right now, with chimeras being built, with the fact that we have genetic material being 3D printed, I don't know that it would. And those type of programs, those biologically non-ethic programs, in my mind, are absolutely going on. And they're going on at a mass level. Now, just another reminder on technology and how it's moved forward and how rockets are ridiculous. NASA's Impossible Space Engine, remember they announced this a couple years ago, is just more evidence that rockets are antiquated technology. Now, let's get into the fun stuff. Let's get into the ranting. And by the way, thumbs this video up, share it. Please subscribe if you like this type of material. We don't usually talk about UFOs or aliens here, but we do talk about deep politics, Assange, Nexium, Epstein, real issues, not left or right. So, aliens. Here's the deal. Let's go with one. They don't exist. We don't know a lot about space. I tend to believe we've been farther than the moon, but rocket technology is probably not it. But the average person has no idea what space really is. How far we can go, what we can do beyond satellites and pictures and colonization. We've got a lot of Hollywood bullshit out there, a ton of it. And think about what it's promoting and how Hollywood promotes fiction and ideal sets. Just pointing that out. Now let's take the other end of the spectrum. Let's say this is all real. Well, There's the talk that, this is just a drone race anyway. It's not the real aliens. Or perhaps it's not aliens anymore. Maybe these are really demons. If angels and demons truly exist, maybe these are interdimensional demons. Maybe they're not even coming from space. When we talk about that, LAZAR claims that at least one of these vehicles was dug up on an archaeological dig and been here forever. There's the theory out there that these are us in the future, that it's time travel is real and we've somehow evolved into, asexual beings with large eyes and little spindly bodies. I hope not. I hope that's not where we're heading. And all these ideal sets really do promote the idea that, we just evolved from nothing. Again, I don't know. I don't know the truth, but I do know that there's a lot of disinformation out there. And I do know that if you want to watch a documentary from back in 2012, Ancient Aliens Debunked, all right, September 30th, 2012, he put that up. I'm sure there's a lot more material out there. He does a great job. He picks apart most of the nonsense. Jesse, thank you so much. If there was any real advanced technology, wouldn't the oligarchs already use it to tax and enslave us like anything else? Well, Jesse, that's the thing. Let's say this advanced technology goes beyond space. Like, for instance, when I first started talking here, these same naval patents that have gravitational flying vehicles here, they have a room temperature superconductor. And one of the interesting things that LAZAR has talked about is that this thing was a power source and it was 100% efficient. It never warmed up. So if you have 100% efficient energy and you don't need a source like oil or natural gas or even the sun, and you can't charge people for it, all of a sudden a big, big chunk of your control goes away. And your military and economic rivals globally now have the opportunity to have an unlimited energy source to develop weapons or defense. So I think it's a complex issue, but mostly a control issue. I think they would have less control. Can you imagine if you didn't have a heat bill? Can you imagine? Seriously, think if you didn't have a heat bill or an AC bill or you didn't have to pay to keep your power on. That's a huge expense. It's a huge industry. People are making trillions of dollars globally on that industry. So just that alone, if this was just advanced technology, would be a reason to tuck it away outside of the military purposes. So, guys, like I said, check out Ancient Aliens Debunked. If you haven't noticed, I am completely on my own. And this was, almost a 30-minute kind of chat, not so much a deep dive. I know it wasn't an AMA, but we did a Ask Me Anything with Dylan Avery, the originator of Loose Change, where I got involved into the second edition. We talk about that and a lot of other stuff, his new projects like Black and Blue and what's on the horizon. I thought that was an awesome AMA interview. We talked about quantum computing yesterday. We've been talking about China and so much more. I'll be doing Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat podcast later this afternoon. Really excited about that. So if you're new to the channel, now's the time to subscribe and join the Burmese Brigade. Thumbs the video up, share it out there. And like I said, I'm completely on my own. It's a no bullshit GoFundMe. If I can raise $5,000 a month, I can continue to do this. If I can start making more than that, once a month, I will go on location somewhere and do a story. But I think it's really important to get 30 to 50 videos out a week about real topics that aren't about left or right, but are about right or wrong. So if you can give $5, $10, $15, whatever, I'm not trying to make it monthly. I'm not trying to spread myself out to Patreon and say that I'll do a Skype session with you and all this other nonsense and call you this level member. I thank everybody who has not only supported me financially, but supported this channel by watching and sharing it and helping it grow, because we're on the road to 30K and we want to stay on this platform because I got nothing but love in my heart for you, YouTube. Keep independent voices here. That's the purpose of this. Guys, I'll see you on the flip with more videos. Thanks for watching.